But let's get things started because anyone who attended last week knows that I gave myself the challenge of three burning questions in 30 hot minutes, and I'm a talker, folks. So that was a challenge I set myself up for. And my wonderful experts are so seasoned and so experienced and know so much that this is a challenge for us to, keep it tight today. But we know how precious your time is. So people are going to keep entering as we go, but I'm thrilled to have all of you here. I'm Michelle Blakely. I own C, Jake, and Jane Train. I help outstanding fitness professionals be brilliant business people. And I am absolutely thrilled to welcome our expert today as part of Fit Pro Summer School, Chris Callero of Callero Capital. You guys will find in the chat on the side, I've already dropped in his contact information. He has graciously extended the option for any of you to reach out to him if you need help with anything or you have questions about what we covered today. I want to share as well, there's also time to join Fit Pro Summer School. So if you have questions about that, I dropped in my link to schedule a quick talk with me. I'd love to have you guys benefit. Okay, enough of all that. I want to share with you how awesome Chris is. So he's been a wealth management expert since 1992. He got his certified financial planner. Is it a certificate, Chris? License?
Designation.
Designation. See, I'm glad I asked. From DePaul University in 2002. He is straightforward and honest in his advice and guidance. He serves his clients with asset management, tax minimization, risk mitigation, and estate preservation. He is an excellent listener and understands your life goals when giving his suggestions and solutions. He took excellent care of me when I had nothing, and he continues to take outstanding care of me as I try to rub my shekels together and make more in the coming years and months and decades. I have to tell you guys, what is so beautiful about Chris is that treatment of all of his clients, no matter what they're bringing in, and also his willingness to talk with you when you have the random question or you want to do a check-in. I've reached out to him when I heard a news report on something scary or political, and he was right there with me saying, okay, this is what we need to worry about. This is what we don't need to worry about. So he's just a real gem, and I'm thrilled to have him here with us. So Chris, thank you very much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. I think my
All right.
challenge today is talking because, as you said, I'm used to listening to people.
A lot, folks. He listens a lot. Okay, but we're gonna kick it off. 3 burning questions in 30 minutes. Chris, question number 1, right? We've got a lot of independent practitioners and small business owners on the call right now. What are the different business retirement plans available to business owners?
Great question. So, when you're a business owner, you have options for everything from the 401k and profit sharing plan all the way down to just simply a salary deducted IRA. And when you're designing a plan for a business, the 2 key questions you want to mainly ask yourself is number 1, do you have employees? And number 2, are you willing to contribute on behalf of your employees? And then that will lead you to the type of plans that are available. And the 2 most common plans and most popular plans I find for small business owners are the Simplified Employee Pension or SEP plan and the Savings Incentive Match Plan for employees or a simple IRA. Now, the reason why these are the 2 most popular, Michelle, is two things. Number 1, the cost. Very, very minimal cost to implement and run on an annual basis. And more importantly, from my perspective, is there is no complex annual IRS reporting requirements. So as a business owner, like if you had a 401k, you got to be reporting stuff each and every year. For these 2 types of plans, it's up and simple. There's nothing required. You don't have to report anything. Now, the SEP plan is going to be more like a profit sharing plan. And the simple plan is going to be more like a 401k. So let me explain. With the SEP plan, they're more popular with people, with business owners that are self-employed with no employees. And the reason is because only the owner is contributing on behalf of all participants. So for
Mm,
instance, if I had two employees and I wanted to save 10% of my salary for myself, I would have to put away 10% of both of my employees' salaries on their behalf. Now,
mm.
that is a tax deductible business expense. However, not all employees want to contribute that amount for their employees or employers.
All employers.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So, but the beauty of it is like a profit sharing plan. It's flexible. It's not required to be made each and every year. So if you had a down year, you can actually skip a contribution or lower your contributions. And in really good years, you can increase your contributions. So I'm an independent contractor and I don't have any employees underneath me. So I use the SEP and I love it just simply for that flexibility that it offers. Now, if you go more towards the 401k side, that's where the simple IRA comes in. And these are available to any employers that have less than 100 employees. So there's a wide range of businesses that this is available for.
Those are my people. Yeah.
Yes, yes. Now, the difference here is that the employees get to contribute on their own behalf. And then the employer has to make some form of matching contributions just so it's not discriminatory. And again, those contributions that the employer puts in, he gets to or she gets to deduct them as a business expense. And so the easy way to explain this is just think of it as a IRA with larger contribution limits. Whereas an IRA only allows you to put away $7,000 a year, a
Right.
simple IRA allows you to put away in 2024 up to $16,000. And if you're over the age of 50, they give you another $3,500 for a catch-up limit. So you can put away between $16,000 and $19,500 into this plan. So going back to it though, both of these plans, minimum cost to set up, minimum cost to run each and every year, and there's no IRS reporting requirements. So those are the two that most business owners, you can still have a 401k if you want, but because of those two advantages, these are the ones that most small business owners gravitate to.
Quick question, add-on question to that. So with the second one you were talking about, which is the simple
Correct.
IRA, can you be your own employee
Yes.
and move forward with it, right? Can you look, some of us don't look at it like this, right? When we run our own business and we incorporate it, because I nag them to death about the liability of, not setting up a legal entity and protecting yourself and things. But we often don't think, oh, well, it's just me. I'm not an employee, I'm the owner, but we technically are an employee depending on how we pay ourselves. Um, so is that a way that really a person who just thinks of themselves as a one man show could take advantage of the simple IRA, or no? You'd have to have, technically, you have to have more employees.
Yeah, no, that's a good question there. But I would go towards the sub side of it because if it's only you, your contribution limits are going to be much greater. So
Oh,
now
I think I had them flipped then. Sorry.
yeah, on the SEP IRA, because the owner, which is you, okay, even though you're an employee of your business, if you are the only employee, the owner is making contributions on behalf of everybody. So you're making them on behalf of yourself. And
Right.
the contribution limits can actually go all the way up to, for self-employed individuals, 20% of net income up to $69,000. So if
Wonderful.
you had a
Okay.
really good year, you could, put away a chunk of money for your retirement.
And I hope everyone listening is planning on having a really, really good year.
Absolutely.
That's right. Okay. Okay. Awesome. Thank you for that. I think I had flipped. I think
That's
I
okay.
had flipped the two.
I do it
Um,
myself sometimes.
well, that's very generous of you. Thank you. And guys, please, please, please don't hesitate. If you have questions, throw them in the chat, and I'm taking a look so I can ask Chris. I know most of us are on mute. Question number 2: what are some of the principles for successful long-term investing?
Another very good question. My first answer to this one wasn't always the case, but
Okay.
today, because of the healthier lifestyles people are living and the advanced medical care, the first thing you must realize when long-term investing and want to be successful is plan on living a long time.
Yeah.
Prudential did a study recently, and it showed that 67% of 55-year-olds and the majority of 65 and 75-year-olds are severely underprepared for retirement, and that they are terrified that they're going to run out of money in retirement.
Mm.
And the two main reasons for that is longevity and inflation. And take it one step further, they've even gone to term uh, these people as silver squatters. And these
Mm.
are retirement age individuals that are going to be needing to rely on their family for both housing and additional financial assistance. And then when
Wow.
they ask them, you know, what are your plans? A majority of them said, we're planning on living with our kids, but we haven't discussed it with them yet.
Yeah.
So you could see where that's going to lead in the future here. So everybody talk to your parents. You may find out you need to clean out a room. Uh, Also, a 65-year-old couple today, one of them has over a 50% chance of living into their 90s. So just think about that. Your retirement income is going to have to last you 25 to 35 years in retirement. So successful long-term investing, definitely first thing is plan on living a long time.
Yeah.
Second thing I would consider is avoid holding too much cash. Now we know the saying cash is king. And believe me, when I open up my bank statement today, I actually smile because there's interest in there. You know, it is nice to get 4 or 5% interest on a CD or money market compared to the 0.1 or 0.2% that we've been getting for the last 10 to 15 years. However, when you factor in both inflation and taxes, your cash is losing purchasing power. So there is a place for cash in portfolios. I mean, we have to have emergency funds, but we want to take any excess cash and get it working harder for our future. Next up, I would say compound interest. You definitely want to reinvest all of your earnings, your interest capital gains, back into your investments so that you can buy more shares and earn money on the money that you just earned. There was a
Does
guy.
everyone understand that? I want to. So, Chris, I'm a numbers girl and I love
Yep.
numbers. And anybody who's my client or has been involved with something with me in coaching, they know like I love it. I could get lost in the spreadsheet kind of thing. But I know that there are a lot of us that have never been taught this stuff. And I want to make sure we're including everyone, right? That we know what Chris is saying. And correct me if I'm wrong, Chris, is like, you have $1,000 in an account, it earns you $50. Instead of taking out that $50, you throw that 50 back into the pile, and then that $1,050 earns interest for you.
Correct, which is now going to earn you more than 50 because you have a larger pile in there. And, there's this guy that a lot of people consider smart. His name was Albert Einstein. And he actually said that compounding interest is the eighth wonder of the world.
Mm.
Knew how important it was and how powerful compounding interest is, and how important it is for successful long-term investing. Uh, the next
Because
one,
it just exponentially keeps helping you.
absolutely, yeah,
Okay.
that's the
Okay.
whole purpose behind it. Now, this next step to successful long-term investing is one I find the hardest. Uh, and over the years, I mean, I had to work at it when I started in this industry, and this is where most of our clients need help. And that is you need to remove all emotions from your investing. Because we as humans, our brains they think certain ways. And we react differently to losses or pain in our portfolio than we do to gains. And because of that, we want to try to eliminate them, which is, they common sense. So, your account's worth here, the market starts going down. So you want to, hey, let's take it out, park it on the side, and then we'll wait for all the damage to happen. And then when the market starts going back up, we'll get back in. It sounds perfect on paper. However, in the last 20 years, if you had invested in the S&P 500, your account would have grown to so much. Well, if you had missed just the 10 best trading days in that 20-year period, your account would be worth less than half of what it was if you just left it in there. Now, think about what I just said. You missing the 10 best trading days, not per year, but in a 20-year period. There's 7,200 days in a 20-year period. If you miss those 10 best trading days, you will have lost half of the money that if you just let it sit there and ride that market up and down. So the next question I've often gotten is how do you know when those 10 best trading days are?
That's why we hire you, Chris.
Yes. Well, I could give you a hint. We don't know when they are, but 6 of the 10 best trading days came within 2 weeks of one of the worst trading days.
Right.
So if you're trying to avoid the bad trading days, you're also going to be avoiding the good trading days. So we have this little saying, when you want to invest successfully for the future, it's not about timing the market, but it's about your time in the market. You need to remove your emotions and let your money work for you. Which brings me to my next point is volatility. And we've been conditioned through the media, because you see it on TV when you're watching the news at night. The market did this, it was up, it was down, it moved over 1%. So we think, they call 1% moves up or down big market days. And what we need to do, though, is learn to embrace it, not run from it. And the reason is nobody's ever told any of us this, that a 1% move up and down in the market accounts for 24% of all market activity. It's very, very frequent. And a 2% move up and down in the market happens on average, historically, 17 times a year. Now, some years it only happens once or twice, and others it happens, but pretty much it's happening once a month. And we're told that these are big swings in the market, and it makes us want to, going back to my last step, avoid that. But now that you know that's how the market does perform on a daily and yearly, the market is up 7.2 out of every 10 years. But yet there's volatility every single year. So
That
myself, Michelle, I worry more when there's no volatility.
mm,
Because then I say the market's not acting normal.
mm,
So when it is doing this, embrace it. Don't worry about it. The market does what it's supposed to do, and it does this, and over time, the market has historically moved upwards. And that's what we needed to do in order to generate long-term success in our investments. Now, the next step I would say is we want to make sure that we diversify. Because with our economy, and then you have COVID and you have wars and you have everything else, we don't know what asset class is going to perform the best on a year-to-year basis. And sometimes it's large company stocks, and other years it's international stocks, could even be bonds. As a matter of fact, in 2008, the best performing asset class was cash, followed by gold. So,
mm.
So what you want to do is add different asset classes into your portfolio so that you don't have to worry about a year to year what is going to be performing best. You have your assets diversified, or like you were probably told growing up, don't put all your eggs in one basket. It's great when it goes up, but it's catastrophic when it goes down. So
Right.
that's why we need to diversify along the way. Lastly, and this goes back to the way our minds think, is to be successful long-term investing, you need to stick to your plan. And somehow, because we're human beings, we find a way to screw it all up. I've always taught my kids, life is actually very simple. Treat others the way you want to be treated, things like that. And I'm like, but somehow we screw it all up. And it comes the same thing to investing. It could be, you needed to replace your furnace or the roof or this or that, and somehow you stop saving for your long-term goals, and then the next thing you know, you never got back on track. And so, in order to be successful for your long-term investment success, you have to have a plan and you need to stick to it.
Yeah. And I think a lot of what you're saying, guys, I don't know if you agree with this, if you want to put a note in the chat, because there are a lot of us are, fitness professionals on this call, most of us really like planning. And most of us really understand, like what you were saying, like the up and down 2%. Like for a client to expect that the scale is always going to go perfectly down, right? Like we see that as not, I see a lot of analogies. So, guys, I hope some of this is beneficial. They're probably, you know, different learning curves for each of us. And like some of the jargon might be new. And we just need to learn it, right? But I think that a lot of this is very relatable because we're coaching our clients through the same like journey of, okay, yes, there was just that big MSNBC whatever newscast about dairy. Hold your horses. Like we're gonna, look at who funded the talk and or who funded the study or all those things, right? That I think this is resonating. Okay, this is awesome. We're doing great on time. There are a couple questions in the chat already. Um, but let's get to the third question. Why is it important to start saving for your retirement today?
That's an easy one.
Layup.
Finan- Yep, financial independence and security. Okay, if you don't start today, then tomorrow you're going to have to save more towards your retirement than you did today.
Yeah.
And going back to that compounding interest, the most money you're ever going to make is on the money you put away today. So to give you a quick example, investor A, they're 19 years old. They're going to put away $2,000 a year for 7 years till they're 26 years old, never put away another penny. So they put away $14,000 and their money grows at 8% until age 65. And investor B, they are going to put away $2,000 beginning when investor A stopped. So at 26, and they're going to do it every year until 65. Again, earning 8%. So investor A put away 14,000, investor B put away 80,000. Who do you think ended up with more money?
It's not fair for me to answer this question. I already know the answer to this
Yeah,
question.
it's investor A. And that
Yeah.
is because that extra 7 years of compounding interest made all the difference that investor B, even though they put away a lot more money, they were not able to catch up.
Right.
So that is the longer you wait to save, the more you're going to have to save. And the most money you're ever going to make is on the money you put away today. Why else do you need to start saving today? Well, very, very simple. Social Security is not guaranteed. We'd like to believe it's going to be there, but no one's going to guarantee it for us. Number two, no one's going to congratulate you when you retire and say, great job, Michelle, here's a paycheck. Go retire. Okay. You don't want to be a burden on your family, which we've mentioned is looks like it's going to be a trend. Next, healthcare costs. They are rising. Fidelity has now said, with their study said that an average couple age 65 is going to need $315,000 just for healthcare expenses in retirement. On top of that, 40% of all Americans live on Social Security alone. Now,
Right.
if that's your only source of income, how is that security in your retirement? So to sum it all up, why do you need to start today? Simply put, we've mentioned a lot of statistics. You want to start today so that you don't become one of those statistics.
Yeah. And there's power, and that's a little scary, but there's also power in everything we've talked about today. That there are tools, there are things, there are ways that you can have that freedom and put yourself in a good position. And something I used to use with training was be kind to future self, right? And a lot of trainers and coaches use that, right? A lot of consultants, this idea that, okay, we're going to do this today because our tomorrow self, our 70-year-old self, is going to have better bones or, a sharper brain or whatever it is. And that's really paramount in everything that you're saying.
A lot of
We are
similarities between the two.
right. Yeah. So we are at 129. And what I suggest, if everyone is willing, is just a massive thank you to Chris for all this awesome advice. Please throw a note in the chat with a, thank you if this was valuable. And then, Chris, if you're willing to stick around, anyone else, if you're willing to stick around, there are a few questions in the chat. Are you
Absolutely.
available to answer those? If that's okay. Okay,
Absolutely.
wonderful, great, great. Okay, guys, so stay on. If you'd like, I'm going to go in order of the questions. And also, please don't hesitate to copy Chris's information up there in the chat or to copy scheduling a call with me. I'm happy to talk to anyone. So the first question, what does SEP IRA stand for?
Very good question. That is simplified employee pension. Now, even though it says pension in there, it's not a pension. Okay.
Okay.
It's just a retirement plan that is available to self-employed individuals. And
And IRA,
once again, it's the employee contributes on behalf of themselves, and if they wanted to, their employees. And that's why it is mostly used by employers that one man or woman business.
okay. And IRA is individual retirement account?
Correct.
Okay. All right. We'll throw that up there, guys, so you can. Um, okay, great. Oh, and then someone would have liked a deeper conversation when you were midway through compound interest, but then they said, no, he did it. He nailed it. Like, yep, that's the kind of guy he is. Okay. Then we have a question. I have an LLC being taxed as an S Corp. I only pay myself via Zelle from my business account every other month. I was instructed to cancel my payroll service because I'm being taxed as an S Corp now. Is this correct?
Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm not an accountant. Okay, so you should defer that question to your CPA. But
And I can reread it. It's a little did you
well,
follow it?
yeah, I did. I'm just trying to think here, just the fact that you're zelling money to yourself. I would, want to be
The
on a different type of,
flag's going up.
yeah, program, because one of the things you want to do is you want to be able to separate your business from your personal finances.
People, I do not pay them, the experts, to say this when they come on. This is probably going to be said 3 out of the 6 seminar. They just say it. I know I hound you all on this. This is yes.
Yeah.
Please continue.
Uh, so to
He's not
cancel
a
your
plant.
Yeah, so to cancel your payroll service because of that, once again, I don't do your taxes. So if I was doing your taxes and your accountant says, this is a mess, you need a payroll service, that's why I would say I would defer the question to your CPA before you make any changes. And if they say, yes, absolutely, it's no longer needed, we'll be able to track everything, then go ahead and do it. But I would come up with a different system for how you end up paying yourself.
I also have the question too. I'd want you to make sure, a person asking the question, I just want you to make sure that you understand why you got the advice to uh, have an LLC, but run your taxes through like an S corp. I forget the name of that. I know that exists, and make sure that those advantages still exist for you. Would you agree with that, Chris?
Mhm. Yeah, it's usually one or the other.
Right. But so for me, the idea is, well, you chose S corp because you like the benefits of that. You chose LLC because you like the benefits of that. So if you are an LLC, but then you were advised to run your taxes through like an S corp, I would just want to make sure this person understood why they were doing that and if that's still the most beneficial route.
Yeah, the S corp is a tax through entity, so that as a self-employed individual, if I'm running an S corp, all of my income is just going to flow through to my personal side. Uh,
Right.
but it does offer you the benefit of limited liability, things like that along the way. So again, these are all going to be questions, though, that your tax accountant, based upon your structure and your income, is going to be able to recommend what is best suited for you.
Right. Right. Yeah. When they know your situation, they can
Right.
advise you. And I
I
go
don't know.
ahead, Chris.
I don't know a lot about the situation, and that's why I say it'd be like if you were asking me a legal question. I could answer it for you, but I'm not an attorney, or I may be able to answer it for you, but I'm not an
Well,
attorney. So you always want to defer to the experts and let them handle it for you. That's what you're
and I
paying.
think And I think that brings up a good point, right? We do need to have an accountant. We do need to have a bookkeeper. We do need to have a financial planner. They all do different things. They can work together and there's some overlap, but they do, different things. So great question. And if I can help further with that by referring you to somebody else, just let me know. Marcus, the person asking the question. Okay. And we have one more question. If anybody else has a question, throw it in the chat. It's been challenging to stick. This was in the consistency and long-term investing plan. It's been challenging to stick to it when my business fluctuates. Any recommendations for staying the course when cash flow is volatile?
Yes, and you may not like the answer I'm going to give you. Uh,
They don't like a lot of the answers I give them either, Chris.
yeah, well,
That's
we need to learn to pay ourselves first.
mm,
Okay, we get a bunch of bills, whether they come through the email. I still get them in the mail because that's who I am. Uh, you get a bunch of bills every month, and we pay all of our bills, and then some months or maybe money left over, other months it gets really, really small, and you're like, well, I want to do this, I want to do this, and we forget about ourselves. But the most important bill out of all of these is you.
yeah,
So if you make it a habit of putting something away, even if it's not a lot, but making sure you pay your bill first, you're going to be able to stick to your plan and have something to show for it when you are retired. Now, remember, your bill is the only one out of all of these that you get back every penny that you've ever paid for that bill. All the
mm,
other ones, once you write the check to the company, it's gone. But for your retirement, all you're doing is taking the money and parking it on the side for a later date. And if anything, you can always park it into something that, if you needed it to double as an emergency fund, then park it into a liquid investment and not something that is tied up for 20, 30, 40 years until your retirement. So I know it's tough, and it is. I've been there. Okay, you got fluctuating cash flows. I've been there, and the only other way to do it is because this month it's here and this month it's here. In the bigger months, you got to make sure that you're putting away. It's not, hey, we paid our bills. Now I got this extra lump sum for myself for going out and having a good time and vacations and things like that. No, you got to be disciplined to take and make up for the month. So if you're used to putting away $250 towards yourself every month, well, you had $1,000 left over. Guess what? The first 500 is going over here for your retirement. Got to make up for last month. Got to make up for this month. So I'm not saying it's easy. It's just like what you guys are teaching your clients. I'm the guy sitting there in the room sweating, looking at myself in the mirror and saying, man, this stinks. It is not easy. So I get that. But it is one of the things, though, that you can control. A lot of things are out of our control for investing in for your future. But the one thing we can control is how much money we put away for our future.
Yeah. And I think something I take out of what you're saying in terms of, Nancy's question is maybe finding a number that is that you could handle that wouldn't cause you to like emotionally respond and pull back when things get tighter. That you keep it a number that's palatable, and then guys, I did this recently. I had a semi sort of an aggressive number and I hit some tough times, and then I stopped everything, right? And that's not necessarily what I should have done. But if I would have picked like a slightly smaller number, I could have held on to that consistency and then just added more when things got better and the months got better. So I think that's really lovely about Chris too, is he has empathy for the struggle and how hard it is. But um, I think there is a way, and I think this was a great question we can all learn from, that we find a way to still move through it.
And you made a very good point there, Michelle, especially with younger couples starting out. I tell them it's most important to get started, not the dollar amount. It's getting
Right.
started. And everything we do is flexible. So if you start at $100 a month or $300 a month, and after 3 months, you're finding out that is a little bit too aggressive, guess what? It's a push of a button and you drop it down to something that you can feel comfortable each and every month. And then as time goes by, I just did it with a young 24-year-old girl. I says, you've been a year now, you've been accustomed doing this amount. Let's increase it by $5 or $10 for for
Right.
next year. Okay, so it doesn't have to be giant steps. Sometimes it's just baby steps. But what's most important out of her, if you go back to the examples, is she started saving. So now she's got that compounding interest and she took advantage of the time rather than saying, well, I don't have enough money yet. So you could start
And
small and increase.
the habit, right?
I know that
$50. I
exercise.
think there's a I think there's a video in the 9-week turnaround course, I think, or one of my courses, where I have a video of like, okay, if you only saved, I think it was like $50, like this is what you would have. And $50 may not feel like a lot, for the week or for the month, but that that habit is so important, because then when you're doing a little bit better, it doesn't you don't feel it when you move that $50 to $100,
Right.
because you already know that habit, that's happening. Um, so and I think that's a beautiful place to close too, Chris, is you saying, you know, just starting. Don't let the numbers scare you. Don't let this, pressure to suddenly invest a ton scare you. Just start.
Absolutely. That's the number one and most important part to any financial plan is taking the first step.
I love it. Guys, thank you so much for participating today. Thank you for your questions. Again, if there's anything I can do to help any of you, scroll up to the top of the chat. You can schedule a call with me. There's still room in Fit Pro Summer School if you want to join us. But our massive thanks to Chris Callero. Copy his information in the chat. We really appreciate this. I think this was all super, super helpful. And guys, I'll have the recording as well. If you want to, share it with a friend or rewatch anything, we'll absolutely make that available.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you, Chris. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you next week for how to keep it from getting ugly with Trisha Meyer. So legal legal sticky problems. This is going to be a good one. Take care, guys. Thank you all so very much for joining.
Thank you.